Praise the Lord. This is Talk with Rachel. So let's talk. Have you ever asked yourself why your spouse keeps on bringing up the past things even after they say that they have forgiven you? Because a lot of people think that forgiveness means the pain disappears immediately. But that is not always the case. That is not always how human beings work emotionally. Forgiveness and healing are not the same thing. Mm. Forgiveness and healing are not the same thing. A person can genuinely forgive you in their heart and still be carrying pain from what happened. They can decide not to hate you, they can decide not to revenge, they can decide not to walk in bitterness and still struggle with the emotional impact of what you did. And when that pain is not fully healed, it gets triggered, especially during conflicts. And that is why so many arguments are never just about the current issue, because a small disagreement suddenly turns into something much bigger than what has happened, because old wounds are still sitting underneath the surface. One person is thinking, why are we still talking about this? Like, I already apologized and they forgave me. And the other person is thinking that because every time this thing happens again, it reminds me of what broke me before. It reminds me of what they did. So these are two completely different experiences happening in the same marriage. And you have to understand something very important, that when trust is broken, deeply through betrayal, maybe through harsh words, maybe through emotional neglect, dishonesty, or maybe repeated disappointments, probably even infidelity, the body and the mind remember the pain, especially if the heart happened repeatedly. So even after forgiveness, this person may still react emotionally because part of them is still trying to feel safe with you. And many people really misunderstand this stage. They think like, if you really forgive me, why would you keep on bringing it up again and again and again and again? But sometimes people bring it up because the wood is still alive inside of them. Not because they want to punish you. No, 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 no. Not because they want to escalate things. It's because the wood is still alive inside of them. Now, this does not mean that someone should use the past as a weapon forever, because that also becomes unhealthy. But it does mean that healing takes longer than people admit. Some people say, I forgive you. Some people say, let it go too quickly because they feel maybe pressured to move on, especially in our Christian spaces where people are taught forgiveness, but they are not always taught how to heal. So you find that someone has forgiven, but they have not healed. So you find that people suppress the pain instead of processing it. There are people who smile and they are still hurting. They continue with the marriage well, emotionally they are bleeding inside. These are the people that will avoid difficult conversations because they do not want conflict. But you have to know that suppressed pain always finds a voice eventually. Eventually, it always finds a voice. And usually, it comes out during another disagreement. This is why apologies alone are not enough to rebuild a marriage. Real restoration requires repair. And repairs in marriage looks like consistency. It looks like a changed behavior. It looks like transparency. It looks like patience, emotional safety. Repair will look like rebuilding trust slowly instead of you demanding instant recovery because you just said sorry. If every conversation keeps reopening the same pain without healing taking place, that relationship eventually becomes emotionally exhausted. There comes a point in marriage where both people have to stop fighting the symptom and start addressing the wound itself. Because the goal is not pretending the pain never happened. It is real, it happened, it's a real event. But the goal is reaching a place where the memory no longer controls the relationship. Like to reach where the wound no longer bleeds every time it is touched. And this is what healing looks like. Not denial or pretending or forgetting. It looks like freedom from constantly reliving the pain. It looks like every time when you remember what happened, you remember with grace. Healing in marriage is a journey. And it is not for one person, it is a partnership. Because if one person is healing and the other one is not healing, the one that is not healing will always bring down this one that is making progress. So if it's about healing, both people in the marriage needs to go on their own journey of healing or their own process of healing.